Hello, we are here at the Riots and the Media Conference at LCC, talking about whether or not the big corporations has diversified enough and covered the riots in the UK and London in a particularly reliable way. I have with me Elizabeth Pears, freelance journalist, and we are talking about diversity in the newsroom.
Well, it's something that's very close to my heart because I think that I'm one of the few black journalists, at least one of the few black female journalists that are working in newsrooms in the UK, in local news and nationally. And I think that if we really want to address the issue of diversity in the media, we need to get more young people to consider journalism as a career and not to do just the fluffy stuff, but the serious stuff, because that's really the area that needs to be tackled, addressed, critiqued. So I think the way that the media is changing now, it's really hard for young people from different backgrounds, disadvantaged backgrounds, to get into the media. Now, you've got to have a degree, at least, then a master's. And, the way that things are now, you've got to work, if you're not going to Oxford, or Cambridge or Durham, it's getting harder and harder and harder to break into the Nationals, the Guardian, the Independent, and the Telegraph. So we really need to address that, and I think that's one of the first things that you can do to make sure that the media is more diverse.
There is this stereotype of the entire newsroom being white, middle-aged, probably a bit upper class. And how do you feel that?
I mean, I completely agree with that, because wherever I go in my job, I am normally one or two of the only black or Asian faces, and this is in the newsrooms. I did an internship at The Guardian, and The Guardian is one of the few newspapers, I think, that takes diversity quite seriously. But there is also, a stereotype, middle class, Oxbridge graduates, and that's it. And it's sort of replicated in newsrooms across the UK, even in local news. I can say, hand on heart, I did not see another black journalist. Maybe one Asian girl that worked with me, but I did not see one other black news journalist, and I think that's a real shame.
But are there any organizations or outputs that try to fight this and actually make the situation better?
Well, I think I have to say, The Guardian, first of all, they run a diversity scheme, but that's only a summer programme. At the end of it, what happens to those people that, that got to see what it's like to work for an organisation as wonderful as The Guardian? Then when it comes to an end, are they being employed? I don't think that they are. The BBC also has a talent pool, and I think that's where they look for diversity, not just one background, not just one race. But I don't know about the other newsrooms, and I don't think they do take it that seriously.
You're working for a project that would probably be one of the things that could change the situation for the better.
I'm not sure which project that is.
It was The Voice, you said.
Well, no, I work for The Voice, which is I do some shifts there, and that's Britain's only or biggest selling black newspaper, and that's an ideal place to kind of hone and develop young black talent. But the problem with The Voice is that we suffer from circulation problems. It's a small outfit. There's no way that you can possibly cover all of the stories. You need a lot more resources to make it a quality newspaper, and I think that people should start to value The Voice a bit more, actually, because it's not something that everybody buys, and I think the more people that buy it, again, you get more resources and you can actually get some better news coverage. And I think it would be, if people engage with it more, I think it could be a wonderful thing.
Well, that sounds really interesting, a lot of potential there. Isn't it actually also a part of the problem that there is an all-black newspaper? Shouldn't that be something that would be completely unnecessary?
I think it's a difficult one, because I think that there is a place for black media. I'm not saying that mainstream newspapers shouldn't cater to Britain's different communities, but I think that there is this, you look at it from a completely different set of eyes. I mean, people contact The Voice because they want us to be on their side, and in many ways we are, because we understand what our readers are saying. So I think in many ways we do have a role, because they trust us a little bit more, but at the same time it is sad that you have to have a black media because you're being let down by the mainstream.
Now you're talking about the public and the trust. I know that you've had some problems in that area as well.
It is difficult. I mean, one of the things that we come up against, at The Voice, or even, when I was working in a local newspaper in Tottenham, which has a, very diverse community, people would complain about the coverage. They'd say that it was one-sided, that we portrayed, young black people in one way and not the other. But the truth is that sometimes when you go out there on the streets and you're asking people, talk to us, tell us what you think, what's your opinion, they don't want to give their name. They don't really trust journalists. There is this sort of big distrust, and that makes our job so much more difficult, because instead of hearing it from the horse's mouth, we're sort of filling in the blanks ourselves, we're trying to guess. So if the public really want to see more diversity in the media, they have to engage. It's so important that they engage. They've got to be forthcoming, call your local newspaper, call the nationals, write letters of complaint to say, I think that you've handled this wrong, sorry. They've got to engage, otherwise nothing will change. You can't just complain, you've got to also act as well.
And here at the conference, have you heard anything that you've particularly engaged with, or maybe some new ideas that could change this situation?
At the conference, I have to say I've heard a lot of what I would call the same old. Again, it's a lot of people complaining about the media coverage. One of the things that really annoyed me personally was people complained about the type of people they saw doing the riots, and a lot of people from the black community said, why are they only showing young black people? Why are they only showing young black people? There are other people rioting of all different races. So I asked somebody, I said, well, how do you know that? Where did you see these other people? Oh, we saw it on the television. So you saw other white faces on the television, but you're also complaining in the same breath that you only saw black faces. That doesn't make any sense to me. So I think that sometimes people, they buy into old stereotypes, and sometimes they miss things that are right in front of them. I think the riot coverage, hand on heart, I think that the riot coverage wasn't perfect. But I think that there was a lot of good debate. I think it was balanced. Watching from, reporting on it and watching it at home, I did see a mix of faces. I did see different people. I did see a lot of professional black people come on and do debates. I saw young people be invited onto Channel 4, Sky, to engage in debates, and I thought that the media had made a little bit of an effort. I do agree, though, it was a shame, because as a black journalist, I don't know many other black journalists, but during the riots I did see a lot of black journalists on television, and I noticed that a lot of us are freelancers, and I think that there's something in that. I think that a lot of black journalists are freelancing because they can't find work full-time in a newsroom somewhere, and I think that's, that's awful. And I think that definitely the BBC and Sky, the big broadcasters, I think that they should sort of make it a priority to ensure that, black professionals have that space to come onto the television and discuss other issues, not just things that are, black specific, but anything, because there's always sort of a different angle. For me, I always get called, I must be on like the BBC or Sky sort of, acceptable people to call list. And whenever there's a black issue, I do get, calls, and people say, okay, can you give us a comment on this? Can you give a comment on that? Not everything I have an opinion on, but I have noticed that now I've kind of got this, sort of spokesman hat, and they call me when they want to get a comment out of me. But on the other hand, I have been reporting for a really long time, and I covered the Baby P case, and which is, I think I know a lot about it. So also I do a lot of work with the BBC on that. So they often call me up, LBC or BBC Radio 4 have called me up to discuss issues about Baby P. So I think that there is a lot of things changing, but slowly, not as fast as I would like.
Do you have one final comment just to round it up?
I would really love to encourage young people to get in the media. It's a fantastic job, and you can make a small change, but you can't. I don't want people to think that the media is just about entertainment. It's about news, holding politicians to account, challenging the authorities, and you have to be wise. You've got to think about. You have to start as early as possible. The internet has made it so easy now for you to get a head start. You can get a blog, think carefully about your A levels. Make sure that you do the right A levels. Politics, economics, English, history, and think about where you want to go to university, because there are tricks. There are people who go to City University, for example, that it's a good route into journalism. And if you are a young black journalist and you think that this is something that you'd like to do, don't just wait until university. Start really early, get your blog up, apply for the right courses, do your research, and help make the media a more diverse place.
That was a great comment here from Elizabeth Pears. We are still at the Riots and Media Conference at LCC, and we are Vision on TV.
I first came to London in the early 80s.